At the end of the day, you look inward instead of outward. You ask yourself simple but honest questions. Did I act according to my values? Where did I lose control? Where did I improve? This is not self-criticism, but self-correction. Over time, this habit makes you deeply self-aware. You stop repeating the same mistakes because you are no longer blind to them. Progress becomes inevitable when awareness becomes a daily practice. Another habit that reshapes your entire worldview is accepting impermanence. Everything you have can be taken away. Relationships, health, status, even life itself. Stoicism does not teach this to make you depressed, but to make you grateful and prepared. When you understand that nothing is guaranteed, you stop taking things for granted. You love more fully, appreciate more deeply, and fear loss less intensely. In 2026, this mindset can bring you peace that most people never experience. As your attachment weakens, your character strengthens. Stoicism places character above reputation. You stop living to impress and start living to be honest with yourself. You do the right thing even when no one is watching. This habit builds self-respect, which is far more powerful than external respect. Once you respect yourself, disrespect from others loses its sting. You no longer need to prove your worth through arguments or validation. Another subtle but powerful Stoic habit is learning to speak less and observe more. Words are cheap, presence is rare. Stoics valued silence because it prevents unnecessary conflict and reveals truth. When you talk less, you listen more. When you listen more, you understand better. People often reveal who they are without realizing it. In 2026, this habit can save you from bad decisions, toxic relationships, and wasted energy. Perhaps the most important transformation comes when you redefine success. Stoicism teaches that success is not wealth, fame, or comfort, but living in alignment with virtue. Courage, wisdom, discipline, and justice become your true measures of progress. When success is internal, it can never be taken away. You stop comparing yourself to others and start competing with your former self. Growth becomes personal, not performative. Over time, these simple habits begin to stack. You become calmer under pressure, more focused in chaos, more resilient in life. People may not understand what changed, but they will feel it. Your presence becomes steady. Your reactions become measured. Your life becomes intentional. This is not overnight transformation. It is quiet, gradual, and deeply permanent. In 2026, the world will still be loud, fast, and demanding. Most people will continue reacting, complaining, and chasing things that never satisfy them. But if you commit to these Stoic habits, you will move differently. You will think differently. You will suffer less, not because life is easier, but because you are stronger. And that is the kind of change no trend, algorithm, or external force can take away from you. And as this inner strength deepens, you begin to notice something unexpected. Silence starts to feel powerful. You no longer feel the urge to explain yourself to everyone, to justify your choices, or to win every argument. Stoicism teaches you that your life does not need a defense lawyer. When your actions align with your values, explanations become unnecessary. In 2026, this habit alone can save you from countless draining conversations and emotional exhaustion. You also start to develop patience, not the passive kind, but the disciplined kind. Stoic patience is not waiting helplessly, it is enduring intelligently. It is understanding that everything unfolds in its own time, and forcing outcomes often creates more damage than delay. When things don't move as fast as you want, you stop panicking. You keep working, you keep showing up. This habit builds quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't rush or beg for results, because it trusts the process. Another subtle transformation happens when you stop attaching your identity to outcomes. Success no longer inflates your ego, and failure no longer destroys your self-worth. You judge yourself by effort and integrity, not results. This mental shift frees you from fear. You take bold actions because you are no longer terrified of losing. In 2026, this mindset can unlock opportunities most people are too afraid to pursue. As your fear reduces, your discipline sharpens. Stoicism teaches you to do what must be done, regardless of mood. You stop waiting to feel motivated. You act because it is right, not because it is comfortable. This habit compounds over time. Small daily efforts repeated consistently create massive change. While others rely on bursts of inspiration, you rely on structure. And structure always outperforms motivation. You also learn to face criticism with clarity instead of emotion. Not all criticism is an attack, and not all praise is truth. Stoicism trains you to extract value without absorbing poison. If criticism is valid, you improve. If it is baseless, you discard it. Either way, you remain calm. This habit protects your self-esteem and keeps you grounded in reality rather than opinion. As your emotional control strengthens, so does your compassion. Stoicism does not make you cold. It makes you understanding. You begin to see that most people act from ignorance, fear, or pain. Instead of taking things personally, you recognize patterns. This perspective reduces resentment and increases emotional intelligence. You stop expecting wisdom from those who haven't developed it yet. Another life-altering habit is learning to prepare mentally for adversity. Stoics practiced imagining challenges in advance, not to worry, but to remove surprise. When difficulty arrives, you are ready. You don't collapse because you've already accepted the possibility. This habit turns shocks into inconveniences and crises into challenges. In 2026, this preparation can be the difference between panic and poise. You also begin to value time differently. Time becomes sacred. You stop wasting it on meaningless drama, endless scrolling, and unproductive relationships. Stoicism reminds you that every day used poorly is a piece of life lost forever. This awareness sharpens your priorities. You invest time where it matters, and you let go of what drains you without guilt. Gradually, you develop emotional independence. Your mood no longer rises and falls with external events. Praise doesn't intoxicate you. Insults don't control you. You become internally anchored. This is one of the rarest forms of freedom. In a world addicted to validation, emotional independence makes you powerful without being loud. As this independence grows, your sense of purpose becomes clearer. You stop chasing random goals and start aligning your actions with meaning. Stoicism teaches that purpose is not found, but chosen. You decide what matters, and then you live accordingly. This clarity eliminates confusion and regret. Your life begins to feel intentional instead of reactive. Eventually, you realize that peace is not something you achieve at the end of life. It is something you practice daily. Through small decisions, disciplined thoughts, and conscious responses, peace becomes your default state. Problems still appear, but they no longer dominate your inner world. You remain steady while the world shakes. By the time 2026 unfolds, these simple Stoic habits will have reshaped you from the inside out, not in a dramatic, attention-seeking way, but in a deep, undeniable way. You will move through life with calm confidence. You will face difficulty without panic. You will experience loss without collapse, and most importantly, you will respect yourself. And as this strength becomes part of you, you begin to notice how little you need from the world to feel complete. External rewards lose their hypnotic pull. You no longer measure your days by how much attention you received, how many people agreed with you, or how smooth everything went. Instead, you measure your life by alignment. Did you act with integrity today? Did you control your reactions? Did you stay true to your principles even when it was inconvenient? This internal scorecard brings a calm satisfaction that no external success can replace. You also develop the habit of emotional honesty with yourself. Stoicism does not ask you to suppress emotions, but to understand them. When sadness appears, you don't run from it. When anger rises, you examine it. You ask where it comes from, what belief is feeding it, and whether it deserves your energy. This awareness weakens destructive emotions and strengthens clarity. Over time, emotions stop controlling you because you have learned to observe them instead of obey them. Another transformation happens in how you deal with regret. Most people are haunted by the past, replaying mistakes endlessly. Stoicism teaches you that the past no longer exists except in memory. You take responsibility, extract the lesson, and move forward. No self-punishment, no endless guilt. This habit frees enormous mental space. In 2026, instead of dragging yesterday into today, you walk lighter, focused on what you can still influence. As your mind clears, your actions become sharper. You stop multitasking your life away and start doing fewer things with full attention. Stoicism values presence. When you work, you work. When you rest, you rest. When you speak, you mean it. This habit improves the quality of everything you do. Relationships deepen. Work improves. Stress reduces. You are no longer scattered across 10 worries at once. You also learn to accept solitude without fear. Silence becomes a place of recovery instead of discomfort. You no longer need constant noise to escape your thoughts. This is a rare strength. In solitude, you refine your values, reset your mind, and reconnect with what matters. In a world addicted to distraction, the ability to sit alone with yourself becomes a competitive advantage. Another quiet Stoic habit is learning to give without expectation. You help because it is right, not because you want recognition. You show kindness without keeping score. This mindset removes disappointment from generosity. When nothing is expected, nothing feels taken away. This habit brings peace and strengthens character at the same time. As the year progresses, you begin to see obstacles differently. Instead of asking how to avoid them, you ask how to use them. Stoicism teaches that challenges are training grounds for virtue. Difficulty sharpens patience. Pressure strengthens discipline. Loss deepens wisdom. When you adopt this lens, life stops feeling like an enemy. Even setbacks begin to serve you. You also stop dramatizing your problems. Stoicism encourages perspective. You remind yourself how small many worries truly are in the span of a lifetime. This doesn't dismiss pain, it puts it in proportion. With perspective, problems shrink to manageable size. Panic dissolves into problem solving. Emotional storms turn into passing weather. Gradually, courage becomes a daily habit, not a rare event. Courage is no longer just facing danger. It is speaking truth, setting boundaries, and choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. Each time you act courageously, self-trust grows, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence that cannot be shaken by opinion or circumstance. As you move through 2026 with these habits, you become reliable to yourself. You say what you mean and do what you say. This consistency builds inner stability. You no longer doubt yourself constantly. Decisions become clearer because they are guided by principles rather than impulse. Eventually, you realize that freedom does not come from controlling the world, but from mastering your response to it. This is the core of Stoicism. When your inner world is stable, the outer world loses its power to disturb you. You are not emotionless. You are anchored, not passive. You are deliberate. And so, quietly, without announcement or applause, your life changes. You wake up calmer. You face stress with steadiness. You handle conflict with restraint. You recover from setbacks faster. Others may call it maturity, discipline, or strength. You will know it as something simpler, inner order. This is what these simple Stoic habits offer you in 2026. Not escape from reality, but mastery within it. Not perfection, but progress. Not control over life, but control over yourself. And once you have that, nothing truly important can ever be taken from you. And with this inner order established, you begin to experience a different relationship with uncertainty. Where most people panic when plans collapse, you remain composed. You understand that uncertainty is not a threat. It is the natural state of life. Stoicism trains you to stand firm even when the ground feels unstable. You stop demanding guarantees from the future and start trusting your ability to adapt. This trust in yourself becomes a quiet source of confidence that grows stronger with time. You also stop wasting energy on imagined problems. The mind loves to create worst-case scenarios, but Stoicism pulls you back into the present moment. You remind yourself that pain exists only in two places: memory and imagination. Right now, in this moment, you are usually fine. This habit dramatically reduces anxiety. You deal with real problems when they arrive instead of suffering through fictional ones long before they exist. Another deep shift happens in how you view effort. You stop resenting hard work and start respecting it. Stoicism teaches that effort is honorable regardless of outcome. When you give your full effort, you sleep better at night. You are no longer haunted by the feeling that you could have done more. This habit builds pride that is quiet but unshakable. You also become more selective with your emotional investments. Not every person deserves access to your inner world. Not every battle deserves your energy. Stoicism teaches you to choose carefully where you place your attention. This selectiveness is not arrogance, it is wisdom. By protecting your energy, you preserve your peace. As you practice these habits, gratitude starts to emerge naturally, not forced positivity but grounded appreciation. You become grateful not because life is perfect, but because you recognize how fragile it is. A normal day becomes a gift. Small comforts become meaningful. This gratitude anchors you during difficult times and prevents entitlement during good ones. You also learn to forgive more easily, not because others always deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Holding grudges poisons the one who carries them. Stoicism reminds you that resentment is a form of self-harm. When you let go, you are not excusing behavior. You are releasing yourself from unnecessary suffering. Over time, your values solidify. You stop being easily influenced by trends, opinions, or pressure. You know what matters to you, and that clarity simplifies life. Decisions become easier because they pass through a clear internal filter. If something aligns with your values, you pursue it. If it doesn't, you let it go without regret. You also develop a strong sense of responsibility for your own life. No more blaming circumstances, people, or the past. Stoicism places the power back in your hands. You may not control what happens, but you always control how you respond. This mindset is empowering. It turns victims into leaders of their own lives. As the months pass, resilience becomes your default state. You recover faster from setbacks. You don't spiral as deeply. You don't stay down as long. Life still hits hard, but you hit back with composure and wisdom. This resilience is not loud or dramatic. It is steady and reliable. When your mind works with you instead of against you, progress becomes sustainable. You begin to understand that happiness is not excitement, but tranquility. Not constant pleasure, but inner stability. Stoicism does not promise endless joy. It offers peace that survives difficulty. This kind of peace does not depend on circumstances, which makes it incredibly powerful. Eventually, you stop asking life to be easy and start asking yourself to be strong. This shift changes everything. Challenges no longer feel like punishments. They feel like tests of character. And with each test you endure, your self-respect grows. By living these simple Stoic habits consistently, you become someone who can be trusted with responsibility, pressure, and uncertainty. You stop breaking under stress. You stop losing yourself in chaos. You remain grounded when others unravel. This is the deeper change that unfolds in 2026, not visible on the surface at first, but undeniable over time. You don't just improve your habits, you improve your relationship with life itself. Calm replaces chaos. Discipline replaces impulse, meaning replaces distraction. And in the end, you realize something profound. The world did not need to change for your life to improve. You did. Through simple Stoic habits practiced quietly and consistently, you became stronger than the circumstances around you. And that strength will continue to serve you long after 2026 has passed. And as this strength matures, you begin to notice how deeply it changes your sense of identity. You no longer define yourself by roles, titles, or temporary situations. You are not just what you do, what you own, or how others see you. Stoicism teaches you to anchor your identity in character. When identity is rooted in character, it cannot be shaken by failure, loss, or change. This creates a deep inner stability that follows you everywhere. You also develop a healthier relationship with ambition. You still strive, but you are no longer consumed by it. Ambition becomes disciplined instead of desperate. You pursue goals without letting them consume your peace. If success comes, you accept it with humility. If it doesn't, you accept the lesson without bitterness. This balance allows you to grow without burning out. Another subtle but powerful habit emerges. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop replaying arguments, imagining comebacks, or obsessing over what you should have said. Stoicism reminds you that mental energy is precious. When you release these mental loops, your mind becomes quieter. That quiet becomes space for clarity, creativity, and rest. You also become better at ending things that no longer serve you. Whether it's habits, routines, relationships, or mindsets, you learn to let go without drama. Stoicism teaches that clinging to what no longer fits is a form of self-harm. Letting go becomes an act of self-respect rather than loss. As you practice this, your confidence deepens in a grounded way. Not arrogance, not bravado, but certainty. You know who you are and what you stand for. This certainty makes you harder to manipulate and easier to trust. You don't need to dominate conversations or prove your worth. Your presence speaks quietly for you. You also start approaching challenges with curiosity instead of dread. When When something difficult appears, you ask, what is this here to teach me? This shift turns resistance into engagement. Problems become puzzles instead of threats. This mindset keeps you mentally agile and emotionally flexible. And another change happens in how you experience success. You enjoy it, but you don't cling to it. Stoicism teaches you that everything is temporary, including good times. Because you expect change, you appreciate success more fully while it lasts and let it go gracefully when it passes. This prevents the fear of losing what you have. You also grow more comfortable being misunderstood. You accept that not everyone will see your intentions clearly, and that is okay. Stoicism frees you from the need to control perception. You focus on acting rightly rather than being seen rightly. This habit removes a massive emotional burden most people carry unconsciously. Over time, your reactions slow down in the best way. You don't rush to judge, accuse, or defend. You gather information. You consider context. You respond thoughtfully. This makes you wiser in conversation and more effective in conflict. People feel heard around you, even when you disagree. You also learn to endure emotional pain without turning it into a story about who you are. Pain becomes an experience, not an identity. This distinction is crucial. When pain is no longer personal, it becomes bearable. You feel it, process it, and let it pass without building a narrative of victimhood around it. As these habits continue shaping you, you realize that discipline is not restriction, but liberation. By controlling impulses, you free yourself from regret. By managing emotions, you free yourself from chaos. By accepting reality, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. What once felt limiting now feels empowering. By the end of this journey, 2026 is no longer just a year on the calendar. It becomes a marker of inner change. A year when you stopped reacting and started responding. When you stopped chasing and started choosing. When you stopped resisting life and started working with it. And perhaps the most important realization arrives quietly. Peace was never somewhere else. It was always available through how you think, how you act, and how you interpret the world. Through these simple Stoic habits, you didn't escape life. You learned how to live it well. And as this way of being deepens, you start to experience something rare in modern life: inner sufficiency. You no longer feel incomplete without constant stimulation, approval, or reassurance. Stoicism teaches you to be enough for yourself. This doesn't make you distant or disconnected. It makes your connections healthier. You engage with others from choice, not need. This shift alone transforms relationships because desperation is replaced by stability. You also become skilled at conserving your energy. You stop reacting to every comment, every opinion, every provocation. Stoicism reminds you that attention is currency, and not everyone deserves it. When you protect your energy, you show up stronger where it truly matters. This habit makes your days feel less draining and your efforts more impactful. Another quiet transformation happens in how you handle disappointment. Instead of collapsing or becoming bitter, you accept disappointment as feedback from reality. You adjust expectations, recalibrate effort, and continue forward. Stoicism teaches resilience without bitterness. You learn to bend without breaking, to adapt without losing your core. As your resilience grows, fear begins to lose its authority over you. Fear may still appear, but it no longer dictates your choices. You learn to act despite discomfort. This is true courage, not the absence of fear, but the refusal to obey it. Each time you choose action over avoidance, your confidence strengthens. You also begin to appreciate simplicity. Excess starts to feel heavy rather than impressive. Stoicism teaches you that a simpler life is easier to manage and harder to disturb. You simplify routines, expectations, and desires. With fewer wants, you experience fewer frustrations. Stoic patience is active endurance. It is continuing to do the right thing while waiting for results to unfold naturally. This habit prevents reckless decisions born from impatience. As your thinking sharpens, you become less reactive to negativity. Another powerful change appears in how you handle internal resistance. On days when you feel tired, uninspired, or discouraged, you don't negotiate with your responsibilities. You act anyway. Stoicism teaches obedience to principle over emotion. This habit builds self-trust. When you know you will show up regardless of mood, confidence becomes natural. You also stop romanticizing the past or idealizing the future. Stoicism anchors you in the present. You appreciate what is happening now without clinging or resisting. This presence brings a quiet joy that doesn't depend on excitement. Even ordinary moments feel grounded and real. As time passes, you become more discerning about influence. You choose carefully what ideas, media, and voices you allow into your mind. Stoicism reminds you that what you consume mentally shapes who you become. By guarding your attention, you protect your character. You also grow more comfortable standing alone. When your values are clear, you don't need constant agreement. You are willing to be misunderstood rather than compromise integrity. This independence strengthens your sense of self and deepens your respect for yourself. Gradually, fear of judgment fades. You realize that most opinions are fleeting and inconsistent. Stoicism teaches you to prioritize your own conscience over public approval. This shift removes a massive psychological burden and frees you to live honestly. You begin to experience a deeper form of confidence, not the loud kind, but the quiet certainty that you can handle whatever comes. This confidence doesn't require affirmation. It is built from repeated proof that you can endure discomfort, make hard choices, and recover from setbacks. As 2026 continues, these habits weave themselves into your daily rhythm. You are no longer trying to be stoic. You simply are. Your reactions are calmer, your decisions are clearer, your inner world is orderly. Life still brings uncertainty, loss, pressure, and change. But now these things meet a mind trained for resilience. You are not invincible, but you are prepared. You bend without breaking. You feel without being controlled. You act without being rushed. This is the quiet revolution Stoicism creates. No dramatic announcement, no sudden transformation. Just a steady strengthening of the mind and character, day by day. And when you look back, you won't remember the exact moment everything changed. You'll simply notice that you are no longer the same person who was easily shaken, constantly anxious, or dependent on external stability. You will have become someone grounded, disciplined, and calm. That is how these simple Stoic habits change your life in 2026, not by altering the world around you, but by transforming the way you meet it, steadily, deliberately, and with unshakable inner strength. And as this inner discipline becomes fully integrated, you begin to notice a profound shift in how you experience effort itself. Effort no longer feels like punishment. It becomes an expression of self-respect. When you do difficult things, you don't feel deprived, you feel aligned. Stoicism teaches that choosing the harder path often leads to the lighter mind. This realization changes how you approach challenges. You stop asking how to avoid difficulty and start asking how to meet it well. You also grow less attached to emotional highs and lows. You enjoy good moments without clinging to them, and you endure hard moments without dramatizing them. Life starts to feel more balanced, less extreme. Stoicism trains you to remain centered regardless of circumstances. This emotional balance protects your mental health in a world that constantly pulls people toward extremes. Another deep transformation happens in how you relate to control. You stop trying to manage every detail of life. Instead, you focus on governing yourself. This shift brings relief. You no longer feel responsible for fixing everything or pleasing everyone. You take responsibility where it belongs and release what never belonged to you. This creates mental clarity and emotional space. You also begin to experience a stronger sense of dignity. Stoicism teaches that dignity comes from self-command, not status. You carry yourself with calm assurance because you know you are acting in accordance with your principles. This dignity shows in how you speak, how you listen, and how you respond under pressure. As your awareness deepens, you become more intentional with your words. You speak less impulsively and more precisely. You understand that words have consequences and silence often carries more power. This restraint prevents unnecessary conflict and builds trust. People listen when you speak because you don't speak carelessly. You also develop a refined sense of emotional boundaries. You care deeply, but you don't absorb others' chaos. Stoicism teaches compassion without self-destruction. You can support others without losing yourself. This balance keeps your empathy healthy rather than draining. Another quiet habit forms when you stop chasing certainty. You accept that some questions have no immediate answers. Instead of forcing clarity, you allow it to emerge through experience. This patience with uncertainty makes you wiser and less anxious. You become comfortable not knowing everything. You also stop postponing peace until some future achievement. Stoicism reminds you that peace is a practice, not a destination. You learn to cultivate calm in the middle of effort, not after it. Not after it. This allows you to pursue goals without sacrificing your well-being. As your mindset stabilizes, your reactions become predictable in the best way. You are not unpredictable or volatile. You are steady. This consistency builds trust in relationships and reliability in work. People know what to expect from you, and that expectation is calm strength. You also become more forgiving toward yourself. You hold yourself to high standards, but you no longer punish yourself endlessly for falling short. Stoicism teaches firm self-correction without cruelty. This balanced self-discipline allows growth without burnout. Gradually, your sense of meaning deepens. You no longer seek meaning in excitement or recognition. You find it in daily effort, personal growth, and contribution. This meaning does not fluctuate with circumstances. It remains steady even during difficult periods. As the year moves forward, you realize that you are no longer constantly preparing for life. You are living it. You are present in conversations, focused in work, grounded in rest. This presence makes life feel fuller and more real. Eventually, you notice that fear of the future has softened. Not because the future is certain, but because you trust your ability to meet it. Stoicism builds confidence not by predicting outcomes, but by strengthening character. You know that whatever comes, you will respond with discipline and clarity. And so, without dramatic milestones or external validation, your life shifts. You become harder to disturb and easier to satisfy. You stop needing life to be perfect in order to feel okay. You accept imperfection without resignation and pursue improvement without anxiety. This is the final, quiet reward of these simple Stoic habits. You gain a stable inner foundation, a mind that does not collapse under pressure, a character that remains intact through change, a calm that does not depend on circumstances. And as 2026 unfolds, this inner strength becomes your constant companion. Not loud, not flashy, but reliable, silent, enduring, a strength built day by day, choice by choice, habit by habit, changing your life not by force, but by mastery of the self.